So it all started around June 2017 when me and my boyfriend conceived. I'm not gonna go into the details too much because I'm gonna make a separate video about that. But when me and my mom went to go get her oil changed, she found some text messages from me and my boyfriend talking about getting pregnant. And she immediately made me take a test. And it came out positive. And automatically I was shocked because I didn't know I was pregnant. But she was concerned because it was obviously planned. And she didn't really want that to be my future, you know? She wanted me to grow up and get a career and do everything perfectly, but that can't always happen. And so we find out that I'm pregnant, and I tell my boyfriend, and he's just, wow, like, he has no words. He tells his mom, and it's just a big commotion. But a couple weeks pass by and we find out that I'm having a girl. But then we also find out that she has a form of skeletal dysplasia, which is when your bones and limbs don't grow correctly. But we don't know exactly what it's called yet because we still have to get genetic testing done on her. We find all that out and we're like, okay, if anything happens, we can deal with it at that moment. Because she's still looking healthy, her heartbeat, her brain, and her lungs and her organs are all growing perfectly. It's just her limbs. So a couple weeks pass, and I go back to the doctor because my feet are getting a little bit swollen, and my mom was concerned because when she was pregnant with me, she had a disorder called preeclampsia, which is when your body recognizes the baby as a toxin and not a baby. And so it messes up your blood pressure, makes you get all swollen, and it could result in death for you and your baby sometimes if it's not treated. And so we go to the doctor and we find out that I do indeed have preeclampsia, which kind of sucks because I was put on bed rest only at like 27 weeks too. So I was put on bed rest, like completely, no school, no work, no nothing. And we were just waiting and seeing what's happening. So we're constantly checking my blood pressure and my temperature, just making sure that I'm okay. And it's around Christmas, a little bit before Christmas, and my blood pressure skyrockets. It went to, I believe, around 162 over 110, I think. And so my mom takes me to the hospital and they get me on a blood pressure medication and it lowers it. It's working. And so they send me home with the blood pressure medication. And I kind of just chill at home. I spend Christmas at my dad's like I usually do. And it's just like a nice family time. And then right before New Year's, I go into the hospital again for my blood pressure. And they decide to keep me for good. And so I'm permanently admitted to the hospital at 30 weeks. Perfect. Exactly what I want. And so I spent New Year's in the hospital and I spent my birthday in the hospital, which is January 10th. We're just doing the everyday things, getting my blood taken every day, doing blood pressure, medication, the whole 9 yards. Hooked up to God knows what, 24 hours a day. And thankfully, my boyfriend was there the entire time. And it was just hard not being home. Like, I just wanted to go home and I couldn't, and it sucked because my baby was in danger. I couldn't just get up and leave. Like, I had to make sure that I was okay and that she was okay. And it's around January 25th. And it's like around noon, and they decide that they're gonna start inducing me. So they put me on magnesium and some labor-inducing drugs. I'm sorry, I don't remember. And the nurse there gave me way too much magnesium. I could barely open my eyes. I was throwing up. I was in and out of consciousness. Like, I was almost dead. And there's this ultrasound test that they do on the babies when you're in the hospital to make sure they're not going into distress. They make sure they move, that they kick, that their heartbeat's good. They make sure that they just are being a normal, healthy baby inside the womb. And so they do that test January 25th around midnight, I guess, and she passes everything. So we decide to keep going on. And it's around, I want to say it's around like 6 in the morning at this point. And I just can't do it anymore. The magnesium is too much. I just don't feel good at all, and it's driving me crazy. So I tell the nurse, I think I have too much magnesium. She says, let me check. And so she draws my blood, and it was almost 3 times the regular amount that I'm supposed to have. So they immediately take me off, and they do an ultrasound test on my baby. And she passes 3 of them, but barely. And so they recognize that she's going into distress from the amount of magnesium running through our system. And they call for an emergency C-section automatically. And so the doctor runs in, they get Gage all scrubbed up, they get me, like, hairnet, everything. And within the next 30 minutes, Monroe was born. And it was so crazy to think that if I didn't say anything, that me and my baby probably would have died. And I just don't even know what to say. And that includes my labor and delivery story.